Good morning. Welcome to SS Talks, where we are going to dive into the future of business, technology, and innovation. Today we are talking about something that everyone speaks about. Everyone is talking about. The nomenclature of this function has changed over the period of last couple of decades. Yes, I'm talking about HR. And what we're going to talk about is how is HR as a function transforming in the digital age. And today, to throw insights on this wonderful topic, or I would say a wonderful, ever-engaging function, I've got with me Mr. Rushad Shah. He's Assistant Vice President HR at Cygnet Infotech. He's a leader who's not just navigating these changes, but he's actually driving them. I would say that Rushad is at the forefront of technology and innovation and incorporating AI into HR practices at his organization. He has been helping companies, both current and previous, to stay ahead of the curve. Now, here's the thing when we talk about technology, AI, and automation, it's not just a buzzword anymore. It's more about how we can incorporate these tools, these solutions, and how they are actually reshaping HR as a function. And let me just put it this way. It's not just about recruitment, or it's not just about conducting events and posting on social media. It's way beyond that. So if you're an HR leader or even a founder or a CEO, and you are curious to know how AI is transforming the function and the role of HR across organizations, I think this is the right platform for you all. So without wasting any further time, let me just start this interaction with Rushad, and let us try to dive into what are the specifics about HR, what are the challenges that the function faces, and be it a specific industry or be it agnostic to any industry. They say that innovation is the new norm. The big question for everyone out there is, are you all ready to adapt and adopt this innovation or this wave of innovation? So that's that's the big question, and that's the big takeaway for all of us. We'll be touching various topics around HR, digital transformation, around HR, use of AI and all. And that's why we have Rushad here. Rushad, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Rushad. How are you?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for taking out time. And it's a pleasure to have you with us on SS Talks.
Thanks to you for inviting me. I hope I can add some value to this.
Fantastic. So Rushad, as an AVP of HR, I know that you have gone through a lot of processes, a lot of changes, and you yourself had an incredible journey. Now, if I have to put it this way, if I have to ask you a question, that if your journey was a Netflix series, what would that be?
Interesting. I don't think Netflix has any such series where I can correlate that. But I can just say that for me, a start of HR was more like accidental. It was never planned.
Okay.
So when I completed my graduation, I was trying to appear for CAT examination. As you know that you finish the final exams in the month of April.
Okay.
Then probably you have a CAT exams in November.
Right.
And I was preparing for those.
Right.
And I wanted to fund my own studies
Okay.
because you had those tuition classes, so many college forms that you had to fill up. It was like 70, 80,000 at that point of time.
Right.
It was a big amount.
Yes.
So I just thought that let me just go ahead, earn something in part-time so that I can fund this. And that's how I went into Hutch, which is now Vodafone.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some back office job they had. So I just thought, let me just do that. And that's where, the lady in front of me, asked me, why don't you get into something where you have to take interviews? Mm-hmm. I said, why not? That's something I would love to do. And that's where it started for me, that I got a chance to work 5-6 hours a day. Mm-hmm. I was doing nothing but just taking 60-70 interviews of people who were coming directly walking in. And that's where my love for HR started coming. And way after that, I had completed my exams. I did my formal education in HR, and that's how I entered into it. Mm-hmm. So it has been a very interesting journey for me. Mm-hmm. That it started at a very different note, and today when I'm talking to you like this. So yeah, it has been an amazing month for me.
So let's just taking few seconds. if I ask you to give a title to this entire journey, what would that be?
It's an interesting one, but एक बंदा काफी है, I guess. Okay.
All right. So I guess Netflix people, if you're watching this, make sure that, let's come up with a series called Ek Banda Kafi Hai. We can then ask Rushad to maybe file for a copyright for that particular series.
Will make me a millionaire.
Fantastic. When we talk about a career which spans over a decade and beyond, right? So there are obviously various phases in a individual who thinks that, probably I'm stuck, probably am I doing this or am I built for this, right? So did I step into the right field? These kind of questions do keep happening everyone's journey. Has that ever happened to you? And the most important question is, if it has, then how did you navigate from that scenario?
See, Anirudh, HR, when you start your career in HR, it is very fascinating. You suddenly get into organization, you get to talk to so many people
Correct.
who are inside your organization, people who are outside your organization. At times, you become the first face of the organization.
Right.
So, it's very fascinating. You really enjoy the attention that you get. So, initial 3-4 years of your career, you really tend to enjoy this a lot. But then gradually at some point of time, you start feeling that, you are not able to contribute to the business of the organization.
Okay.
You tend to remain as a back-end operation. And that's what really starts getting, building a lot of anxiety around you. So I was no different from that. The same kind of anxiety I also started building after 4-5 years of my career. And there was a point of time I thought, have I made a right decision? Should I still think of moving into a different field? And those kind of thoughts always surrounded me. But something which really helped me is talking to people who really matters a lot.
Right.
So when I say this, you don't really have to go and talk to HR professional who is senior in the industry. Even anybody who understands business, you can go and talk to them.
Absolutely.
Like my bosses were really great. So one fine day I was just sitting with my boss and I said, this is the feeling that I'm getting. You tell me what should I do? You also see that HR just as a back-end operation, or do you really see they can contribute better? And to my surprise, I think he had huge amount of expectation from HR. He really told me that for him, HR is not a backend. They can really play a front-end role.
Right.
And that's where he gave me certain tips, which I started following. Like few of them where he gave me an open window. Just go and sit in any technical meetings that are happening in the organization. Whether you understand them or not is very different, but just go and sit. Try to understand what it is.
Right.
This will really give you an edge to understand our business. So I just started sitting in the meetings. Initially, I was not understanding much, but then that gave me a, slowly and gradually I started understanding, okay, what IT business is all about, how our project management happens. And these things generated a lot of confidence in me.
Understood.
I started learning business also. And then I started contributing in a much better way into the discussions that were happening. So this, reignited the energy which somewhere I had lost at some point of time.
Okay.
Secondly, I would also say that a continuous learning is something which I always did. My education did not stop when I completed my MBA, and I'm sure this generation realizes that a lot.
Absolutely.
I completed my MBA. After that, I did my labor laws. I did my data science from XLRI. I did 3-4 short-term certifications, and I'm doing PhD now.
Wow.
So this continuous education helps you to, stay in front in terms of what you are doing, what industry is doing, and how you can upgrade your own work. My boss, Neeraj, always says one thing, that work is not to be given, it is to be taken. There is so much of work in the organization. It's just that you should put your hand, pick it and close it.
Okay.
As far as you are able to do it, your education or your engineering or a non-engineering doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So I would say that a continuous learning and a continuous discussion with people who matter really helped me to come out of this.
Fantastic. You mentioned that you are pursuing your PhD. So I just had a follow-up question because I'm an aspiring PhD student. So how's your journey in the PhD coming along? I just wanted to know that.
Okay, so started off very well. So, in PhD, typically in first 6 months, you have to clear some papers. You have to course that you have to. So I cleared that. It was like a good 85%, which I didn't even get in that one standard. So that's something I could manage doing that. After that, it became a little slow when it came to submitting proposal. But now, every 3 months, KU gives that danda to you. So recently when I went, my dean just gave me that I have a timeline, you have to close this. So now again, it has started picking. So probably I just submitted my proposal for a review. Hopefully next 1 month it should be submitted. So
it's a constant juggle between...
Constant juggle, absolutely.
Understood. So now, if I have to now take this conversation a little bit further in terms of understanding uh, more around HR leadership. So, people think, it's not me who's saying this, but usually people think that, HR leadership is all shiny and glamorous. It's, so even when I interact with students, sometimes they say that, what kind of activities does HR conduct? So people have that sort of a perception that it's all shiny and glamorous. But what's the hustle behind that, behind the curtains for HR leadership? Just want to know that.
Okay, shiny and glamorous is only the rangoli that everyone says. Because other than that, there is nothing so shiny about it. The wise men always say it's HR is all about just neat and rangoli. But trust me, it is way beyond that. There is a constant hustle, the word that you use, that goes on between the need of an employee and the expectation of the management. And HR at times really burns out into this because they really have to make define a balance between them. As you grow in your career in HR, there is a point of time when you may be reporting to one person on paper, but you may be dealing with 8 to 10 different stakeholders who are sitting at a C level in the organization.
Understood.
And managing each of them, you virtually end up reporting to them in many ways.
Okay.
And you really have to manage each of them. And that management is required because if you are not able to manage that relationship, it would somewhere impact your own team members and their survival in the organization. So as a HR, it's really difficult and a challenging job to continuously manage those relationships and ensure that you are able to take care of interest of each and everyone in the organization. That is one of the challenging factors that you see. दूसरा IT में क्या होता है that okay, it's more of a knowledge business. People, who are the center of IT business. So any project, if it doesn't work well, the project manager will come and say कि मेरे पास अच्छा बंदा नहीं था इसलिए काम नहीं हुआ. अब बंदा कौन नहीं लाता? HR ने लाके नहीं दिए. Business किसकी वजह से लॉस हुआ? तो वो इसमें HR की गलती आ जाती है.
Right.
So many a times these kind of blames also is something that HR is carrying with them. So it's not always so rosy the way it looks from outside. I think there are a lot of internal challenges, continuous conflicts that goes on, and that's how the work goes on. But I guess that's fine. Otherwise, if you don't have a challenge in front of you on a daily basis, you'll not enjoy our work. So I think that's great. I think I do enjoy that.
Fantastic. I just, when you were explaining this point around HR leadership, so I noted, I just had a question which just popped in my head, which is when we saw this, at the introduction, I mentioned about the naming conventions of HR people, changing over a period of time. Oracle brought a concept called human capital management, and now we also see organizations, talking about HR business partner. So what exactly does this HR business partner as a function look at when we talk about as an organization? Let's say as big as Cygnet, where you are currently working. So what is the actual role of an HR business partner? How does that role contribute to the overall organization?
See, HR, traditionally, we look into HR as something which is operations, recruitment, training and development, as 3 or 4 different functions within the organization. Now, what HR business partner does is all in one for one particular segment of business. So say, for example, I may have 5 different divisions in my organization. So I have one HR business partner who works for one division.
Right.
And he or she would be responsible for the recruitment, for the onboarding, for the training, everything related to individuals in that particular department. One individual is responsible.
Understood.
And that person works dual, one with the HR head and other with the business head also.
Okay.
So they have a dual reporting.
Understood.
So they are working with the business and the HR. So HR business, partnering. So that's how, if I have to put it.
Okay, understood. My next question is more around what everyone is talking about these days, and that is digital transformation. I'm sure HR is also a function that is not left behind. So, what does it mean, the word digital transformation, for someone like you, considering your span in the last 15, 16 years that you have been, and your in the current capacity as AVP in Cygnet? What do you take of this terminology called digital transformation?
So digital transformation is a continuous improvement through automation within your processes. That means, see, automation is not a new term. I think it's since 3 decades we have seen that.
Correct.
Almost every business has some level of automation in it.
Right.
Why do we need automation? Is to improve our processes and to have accurate data with us. So through automation and really build strong data. Now, the new terminology of AI which is coming across, it is nothing but it is a icing on the cake. The cake still continues to be your automation.
Okay.
If you don't have proper automation in place, the AIs will fail completely.
True.
So, in order to have a strong AI practices, you really need to have a strong data management in the company. And that strong data management happens through automation. So continuously how you are able to improve this is nothing but transforming your digital practices in the organization, improving your processes through technology. So that's digital transformation that happens, and HR is no different from that.
Okay. So, you made an interesting point that, data management is the fundamental behind any automation process, and to make sure that every, not just HR, I mean, any organization, when they want to talk about the icing on the cake, which is AI, at least the data management should be taken care of first. Then only you can look at automation. But then, the next question is also in line with what I'm going to ask you is, when we talk about data management and when we talk about the solutions around data management, there is always a constant debate that, okay, whether you want to build a solution for data management, or whether you prefer to buy a ready to deploy solution which is already built by somebody. So what is your take on this? And would definitely like to know a little bit more deeper into this as far as your thoughts are concerned.
Okay, being an IT company, if I say I should go out something, that's a curse on me. Probably I would still say that, because what happens in a typical IT business when you are there, your priority is always client projects. So wherever you are getting a direct revenue is something where you deploy all your good resources. So people who are on bench or for a time being who are available, they only get a chance to work on internal projects in the organization.
Correct.
And as soon as you get some business from outside, they are moved out of it.
Right.
So a priority for internal projects usually never happens in any organization. Right. So why not give this work to someone who is a specialist for an organization for whom this is their bread and butter?
Right.
They would rather able to do this work with a much more conviction, and they would able to do it in a particular frame of time. So answering to you, I would rather prefer giving it to someone else outside, paying them and ensuring that things get done in a proper way.
Understood. Fair enough. So, just a follow up to that. So, there is always a question that, which normally people ask. I'm sure our viewers are also who are from various facets of the industry. They have that question that if they are going for something outside the organization, that the solution provider might be an expert, definitely. But then as a user, there's always a question that, how do I know that, okay, he's the specialist? So how do you look into that? Like if it's an HR solution, if you're looking for something outside the organization for your company, then how do you know that, okay, this is a good specialist or this is not a good specialist? That is something which is always curious. Even for me at this level, at this stage, after 20 years, I still try to figure out that, okay, who is actually the specialist?
Okay, so see, specialist, see, everyone has something unique with them.
That is true.
Now, we really need to see our own business, understand what my business needs,
Okay.
and then define. Or say, for example, if I'm in Cygnet, if I have to get into this so-called digital transformation within my own HR, so what I would look into is I will look into a solution which is seamless in terms of who provides all the facilities into one. So say, for example, starting from APS to the onboarding, to the LMS, to the exit, to the purchase, to the reimbursements, everything, my entire cycle of HR in one single solution can provide. I'd rather go for that.
Understood.
Why that is important is, if I have a single vendor, I have a ability to negotiate in a better way. I can prove the return on investment to my management in a proper way.
Correct.
And I have a decent control on that. So it is important that every organization should first read what is their requirement.
Understood.
Just don't rush behind, okay, my competitor is doing this, mujhe jaake ye karna hai, wo karna hai. It's really not required.
It's not relevant.
You just need to know what your business requires and accordingly go and choose something, because every vendor has something special with them. Now you decide what your business needs and accordingly choose them. That's what probably would be my approach if I had to go about with this.
Fair enough. So, Rushad, I think we are, definitely getting really good insights on the HR function. Now, before we proceed with the next set of questions that I want to ask, we have a small rapid fire that around with you, right? So, definitely, this is just you may not have that much of time. Normally, people say that HR needs to take some time to think and plan it out, but here probably you may not have that window of opportunity. So 7 questions for you, right?
7 seconds, I'll get to answer you.
So let's try to understand, without any planning, how soon can you answer these questions? Okay.
Sure.
So your first question: if you could automate one HR task forever, what would it be?
Onboarding.
Okay. Which emoji best describes the typical HR manager's life?
A smile from outside.
Okay. What's more stressful? An internet outage during payroll week or a surprise office visit from the CEO?
You know the answer. Surprise visit from the CEO.
All right. Now, if you could add one magic button to your HR software, what would it do?
Undo.
Okay. I understood that perspective. One word to describe HR in 2024 and 2025.
One word to describe it. So this one will take little time for me. Sorry for that. Can I get back to this later?
Okay. So we paused this question towards the end. What's the most memorable piece of HR advice you have ever received?
Okay. One of my owner gave me one advice once. I went and asked him that why don't you appreciate me? That was the question. आप सबको appreciate करते हो, आप क्यों मुझे appreciate नहीं करते हो?
Right.
Okay. He told me, do I make you a part of my all organization meetings? I said, yes, you do. He said, do I take your advice in every decision that we take? I said, yes. Then he said, तो क्या मुझे बोलने की जरूरत है? My actions are not speaking around it. So yes, it does. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not always that you really have to go and tell you are doing a great job, Anirudh.
Right.
Probably my actions at times in terms of how I take you ahead in your career.
Correct.
Really speaks about the appreciation without writing or without speaking from you. So that was one advice that always remained with me. And I believe that it's not always because at certain senior level, your bosses will not always go and tap your back and say you are doing a great job. But they have their own ways of appreciating you and they have their own ways of telling you that you are doing a good job. So that's
The last question, not the last question, the second last question is, if you were not in HR, then what would Rushad Shah be doing?
I would have been teaching in one of the management colleges.
Oh, fantastic. So that comes back to the question that is still left. One word that describes HR in 2024 and 2025.
One word that describes it. I still need time for this. Sorry.
Okay. So let's make sure that, we will ensure that Rushad doesn't, ensures that he answers this question. We are still waiting for that one word,
Sure.
right? But, coming back to our discussion around technology and digital transformation that we were talking about before the rapid fire, right? Then there are so many tools out there. There's so much of noise, right? So, and we all know that, solutions are not one fit for all, right? So how do you cut through this noise and pick the ones that are actually a perfect fit, or maybe if not a perfect fit, maybe a right fit for your organizations in terms of solutions?
So it is in continuation to the previous answer that I was trying to give that I will just see, I will look at a solution which is taking care of all my basic problems. I'm not much aligned towards having a full-fledged AI into it. See, I know, okay, I may spend a lot of money, I'll bring in the AI functions and everything as a part of the solution. But am I able to really get the benefits of AI? No. If I have a good data management, AI will give me a beautiful, data out of it, a good analysis it will do for me.
Correct.
But as a company, do I really need that analysis at this point? And am I really going to take a decision based on those analysis?
Correct.
That's important.
That's important.
I just don't want a solution, where just for the namesake, just because my competitor is doing thing, I'm going and getting, okay, I have AI to show. No, that's not it. For me, I would still hold on to my basics. I believe that, okay, for my function, whatever is cost effective, for my function where I can justify the return on investment, and something which automates completely for me, and something user friendly. So if I had these four things being taken care, I'll still go for that.
Understood. Understood. Fair enough. So then, when we talk about HR tech as a technology that is a nomenclature that is being used these days, right? So what's the biggest hurdle as an HR leader in any organization? What do you think it would be the biggest hurdle when you're rolling out an HR tech in an organization, right? And how do you think you could overcome these hurdles in when you're rolling out a new technology?
Okay, so hurdles, when we say one, the biggest hurdle that HR obviously sees is the fear of failure.
Okay.
Because when you are getting into a digital transformation, it's nothing but a digital transformation where you are changing from one or X to Y.
Okay.
This is what you are doing. So there is always a fear that what if I fail? What if I'm not able to meet the deadlines?
Understood.
How would I justify the return on investment? So that particular fear of failure really restricts many a times HR from taking a decision in terms of what is right for the organization. Then at times you have fear of success. Okay, ये अच्छा हो गया तो 10 और मुझे दे देंगे काम करने के लिए. But I may not enjoy that so much. So there's continuously a fear of failure, fear of success, then always a constant fight to prove the return on investment that you are doing. So these are some of the challenges. Obviously, there are larger challenges, where you have to have a buyout from multiple stakeholders in the organization, commercial approvals that you need to take with the
Correct.
management.
Right.
So all those things are always there when you get into this. But yeah, I think overall a balance between these things is something that as a HR, you really have to take care while you are investing into this.
Understood. So when we look at investing into HR tools at an organization level, so obviously every HR tool or solution provider, they come up with a lot of features and functionalities. So is there a particular feature when you look into a solution and you say that yes, this is the winner?
Okay, so if I have to answer you in one line only into this, I would say that accurate data any day, anytime, any point. If there is a solution which can get me this, for me that would be the buyout at that point.
Understood. Understood. So we have been talking about HR. We have been talking about HR tech. We've been talking about digital transformation, AI. You've had space on AI as well, right? So we know for the fact that the any tool that has been deployed for HR as a function, it is to make the life of the HR function easier, right? But then we are also looking at the other side of the table where we're talking about human intervention, right? So or what we call is the human touch. So do you think that that is irreplaceable? That is replaceable or irreplaceable? And what area would that be where human touch would still be there?
See, we often think about that technology can replace a human, but that's not. See, they both are very independent things. Now, say for example, technology is more about input and output mechanism.
Correct.
The better input you give, the better output you get. And technology only understands a binary language, 0 या 1, है या नहीं है.
Correct.
They don't read between the lines,
Right.
which humans can. So I don't believe in the Jacquard's theory, which says that at the end of the year, bottom 5% have to be removed from the organization. Now imagine you have an individual who is with you for 8 years, 10 years, who has been consistently performing well. And one fine year, he or she has not done well. Does that mean I'm going to remove that person? If I have to follow technology and go by the data, yes, I have to. But that's where a human angle comes into picture.
Correct.
Where you really try to read between the lines. You understand that, okay, there's something which is wrong at a personal level, or maybe the person is falling short of skills at this point.
Right.
So how you upgrade that individual, how you train them again, and try to rebuild that confidence in that person and bring them up.
Understood.
So role of HR is very important to ensure that nobody in your company should ever become redundant. They should always be trained continuously, and they should always be in a position where they are valuable to the organization.
Understood.
So as a HR, if I can't maintain that human touch and I can't play a role in upbringing my people, then probably no technology is worth for me. So HR has their role, which is well defined. Technology has their areas, which is well defined, and they both have to, complement each other.
Understood. Fantastic. That's really a good perspective from to know about the HR and how you are keeping the technology and the human part separate even with so much of noise around the digital transformation. So when we talk about, we talked about the current, and we talked about how digital transformation has come up over the years. So what do you think is the next big trend in HR digital transformation, and how should everyone be prepared for it?
See, it is very difficult to tell what's the next, trend, because today it is AI. After 3 years, something else would be there.
Correct.
So, at this point of time, when I don't know what future is, I really don't want to predict that. But one thing I can surely say that as a HR, what will take you further is your, adoption to technology. Whatever comes to your way, you have to adopt, be flexible to accept that change and move on with it. Because one really needs to understand that HR is not ever going to be a creator of technology. They are going to be an end user of the technology.
Understood.
And if you are an end user, for you, you just need that right mindset that, okay, I'm an end user, I just need to learn this and implement this. So my advice is always that rather than, being fearful of anything, whatever comes your way, just be flexible to accept that and go ahead with that. I think that's good enough. You really don't have to think much beyond this. As far as you have a right mindset, you can always continue with that.
Great. I think, Rushad has definitely touched a lot of insights on, or I would say various touch points that you mentioned in your message over HR, HR as a function, HR as, a people-centric role, and then the technology aspect to it. I think this is just the beginning of HR's transformation story. And I think Rushad has definitely given us a front seat view of what HR tech looks like. And yes, of course, it's needless to say that technology innovation is definitely going to be a part of this journey. It's something that HR as a function has to adopt and adapt. As Rushad rightly mentioned, that they are the user. HR is a user of technology, so they are going to consume the technology. But at the end of the day, the manpower or the human intervention is always going to be there. I'm definitely inspired by what you said, Rushad, in your message, and the questions that you answered. I think our viewers are also pretty much inspired. Maybe there is a fear of being missed out also for somebody, but I think it's a good reality check, and probably HR professionals around the world, they can. It's time for them to rethink and realign their strategy. Whatever they are working on, and bring in the technology aspect as well. So thanks a lot, Rushad, for sharing your valuable insights. It was really a pleasure having you here, and for taking out time to share your thoughts on the various aspects about your journey as well, right? But I'm still not done with you.
Yeah,
So
you're waiting for that answer.
I'm still waiting for that one word answer. So I'm now, please help me out.
We have seen Mahabharata.
Yes.
उसमें एक सहदेव करके character.
Yes.
What was the beauty about that person, if I have to ask?
Oh, if you ask me,
Yeah.
the beauty of that person, I think he was patient.
Okay. He was the most knowledgeable person.
Yes.
But he could share knowledge only if you ask them.
Okay.
उसको एक वरदान था कि आपके पास हर चीज का सॉल्यूशन है, लेकिन जब तक कोई आपसे पूछेगा नहीं, आप शायद उसमें नहीं बोलोगे. So role of HR is very much like a survey, where they probably know many things, but many a times unless they are being asked about it, they don't think to go and get that advice. So Saidev probably is a word that comes to my mind when he talks about it.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot. I think we all have the answer to that question. Rushad says that HR in one word is Sehdev from Mahabharata. Thanks a lot, Rushad, for providing that. And please don't forget to share this episode with your network, with your community, and let us have your inputs as well. Thank you so much for hearing us out at SS Talks. Have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rushad.
Thanks, Sarah.